people of color on this planet are the overwhelming majority. Black, brown, red, and yellow people are 9/10 majority on this planet. The other thing, that we are supposed to be genetically inferior, and I said, well, wait a minute. See, in my mind, I'm talking to wait a minute. Black people, people of color, are genetically dominant in terms of skin coloration compared to people who classify themselves as white.
Family, in the past few weeks, I have done a lot of research in matters Black history in America. I have been able to look at the works of many professors, many doctors, many lawyers, many pastors, just to get to understand the rich history of Black Americans. And guys, I have never found someone who explains matters as well as Dr. Welsing. She's the subject of the day as she explains a theory that she believes in that just explains why white supremacists are big on racism. So in her most influential work, the ISIS Papers, The Keys to Colors, published in 1991, Dr. Welsing outlined her views on racism as a global system of white supremacy. She argued that this system was a reaction to white people's fear of genetic annihilation, based on the idea that people of color would potentially dominate genetically due to the ability of their genes to produce more melanin, leading to darker skin tones. Dr. Welsing introduced what she called the Cress theory of color confrontation and racism, the exact topic that she'll be handling today, suggesting that the deep-seated fear of white genetic extinction drives racist behavior and the oppression of non-white people. She connected various social, political, and economic patterns to these underlying psychological theory, emphasizing how these dynamics sustain systematic racism. Her ideas were often controversial and sparked much debate, but they also influenced discussions on race and racism, particularly within Black intellectual circles. Dr. Welsing's work continues to be referenced in contemporary conversations about race, power, and social justice. So guys, I want us to dive straight into the video. Let us watch this, then come back and do a critical analysis.
Number one, the system said that we, as people of color, were minorities. And the other emphasis that was even greater than the factor, the numerical factor, was that we were supposed to be genetically inferior to people who classified themselves as white. Now I say, spend as much time in school as you can. Spend as much time in the libraries as you can. Spend as much time in bookstores as you can. Reading, repeat after me, reading is more important than watching TV. Say it again. Reading is more important than watching TV. See, everything is in books. Everything is in books. And I say beware of these little small things that you can hold in your hand, where you think you're getting as much information as if you're holding a book. Just beware. So with all of the reading and all of the going to school that I had done, I said, wait a minute. People of color on this planet are the overwhelming majority. Black, brown, red, and yellow people are 9/10 majority on this planet. The other thing, that we are supposed to be genetically inferior. And I said, well, wait a minute. See, in my mind, I'm talking to my, wait a minute. Black people, people of color, are genetically dominant in terms of skin coloration compared to people who classify themselves as white. And I said, I've got it. Just like that, standing in the kitchen, cooking, hands in the dishwater. I said, this is the answer. So let me put it on the board. See if you all can see this. Let's say this is the planet Earth. Can you all see? Okay. So 9/10 of the people are black, brown, red, and yellow. 1/10 of the people have white skin. Instead of the people being genetically inferior, the people who can produce the black pigment melanin are genetically dominant. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you haven't taken a course in genetics, just look at our president, Barack Obama. The president's mother is white. His father is black. Because the ability to produce that black pigment is dominant, and the inability is a recessive genetic trait. So black plus white could only produce black. Are you all with me? So I said, now what am I doing? Let's say that this is planet Earth and this is Europe. And this is 1492. And Columbus started European people coming out and moving, little boats coming out of Europe, beginning to circumnavigate the planet. Every place these white gentlemen landed, they found colored people. Colored people everywhere. If the people extended their hospitality to sexual relations, and the men waited around 9 months for their boats to get repaired, they realized that all of the people were not only colored, but all of the babies that came about would be colored babies, President Obama being an example. So I maintained they didn't have to have a big conference hall, big church, but they realized if everybody is colored and everybody is genetically dominant, unless we control all of these people, these men might get in boats. And start going from south to north. And maybe at that time they were even aware that the white women said their ideal mate was tall and dark. So they realized, I maintain at that point, that white could disappear. That white could disappear on this planet unless they control. And we all grow up learning. Black people learn this before they learn how to read. If you are black, what class? Get back. If you are brown, stick around. If you're yellow, you're mellow. And if you're white, you're all right. Now I can say this in London, England. And the audience knows if you're black, get back, brown, stick around, yellow, mellow. Wherever white people have been where there are colored people, if they stayed around to make a color mix, that people start learning this. But most people don't understand, you just learn. growing up, if you're black, you're black, brown, so brown, yellow, brown. This is the color code for white genetic survival. The more color you have, the greater your genetic potential to cause white genetic annihilation. Are you following me? So we're taking the mystery out of all of this. But beyond that, see, all over this country, we are looking at a certain dynamic taking place. And I basically say we are on a genocide slide. Do you see that if people, certain people, are fearful of the genetic power of another group of people, then they will try consciously and or subconsciously to destroy those people. It's as though they have been labeled a genetic enemy. And so if you went to the prison, you will see more people at this color end than at this color end. Do you follow what I'm saying? Beyond that, men and women may be equal as human beings. See, the audience got quiet. What is she going to say? Do you see? But it's only men, it's only males who can impose sexual intercourse. Are you following me? See, Sally Hemings didn't rape Thomas Jefferson. You know, if Sally Hemings got a knife out of the kitchen and threatened to have sex with Thomas Jefferson and he got afraid, what would happen, gentlemen? See, now I don't know if everybody got that lesson in physiology, but men know. If I went to my purse and got a M16 rifle and said to a man, "You are going to have sex," and I frightened him, gentlemen, what would happen?
Yo, before I say anything in regards to Dr. Welsing's speech, this is the best theory I have had on racism. I really like how outspoken she is, how she tries to explain things very softly, and yet you understand her theory. So this theory that she just illustrated there is known as the Kress theory of racism. And guys, the past few weeks, as I have said earlier, I have been doing a lot of research on black history in the US. And guys, this is the best speaker that I have seen. You know, this is the best I have had. I am not happy that I have gotten to know of her works after the passing of Dr. Welsing. I really wish that I could have known her before, and I really wish that I could have met such a figure in my life, because I think she'll be so instrumental to me. I'll be looking to more of her works. Let's start this Kress theory of racism. In those days, there were already white supremacists who were afraid of black people. And as always, they thought that they must come up with a strategy to put down these black folks, and this is what the white supremacists did then, according to the theory of Dr. Welsing. So they actually mentioned that the people of color were minorities, and they were genetically inferior compared to the white people. Then you wonder, how are black people genetically inferior? And we all know how much our genes are, especially the melanin. Okay, then she proceeds to tell people that reading is so important. You'd rather read than watch TV, because with reading there is a lot of wisdom. And she says she came up with this theory because she has been reading. And the theory continues: People of color are of the overwhelming majority, she explains. More than 9/10 of Earth's population are black people. The other 10th remaining, 1/10, is the white people. The 9/10 is not really necessarily black people, but black, brown, yellow, just the people of color. Black, brown, red, and yellow are forming 9/10 of the total population of the earth. Then now the 10th remaining is of the white people. She proceeds, then asks, why does they mention that we are inferior? Why are they saying that the colored people are inferior and we are genetically dominant? And she gives an example of the former president of the United States, Barack Obama, whose mom was white, then the dad was a black man. And we all can see that, the colored aspect of Obama just shows us that the dad won with the genetics. The genetics of a black man is stronger compared to those of whites. Then she says that the black pigment has always been dominant. Then in 1492, she takes us back when Columbus was just touring the world, with their boats, trying to explore, trying to reach the new world. And they found colored people everywhere. Dr. Columbus can mention at some point that they were finding colored people everywhere. And that was a big threat to the white supremacists. Do you know why? Because they imagined if these people were to indulge sexually with black men and women, that would mean that slowly and slowly, the 10th of white people that were existing in that time could have, the whole white generation could have been washed away, because remember, colored people are dominant when it comes to their genetics. The black pigment in them is so dominant. And this has been their fear, according to the crest theory of racism. They thought that the best way they can beat us is trying to conflict with us, trying to tell us that there is nothing good that can come from us, trying to tell us that they are better than us, because they have been afraid all this time. That is according to the crest theory of racism. If we could have indulged with them, the black folks who were there, the colored people who were there at the time, if they could have indulged with a few white men and women who are available in the face of at that time, that would mean that the whole generation of white people today couldn't have existed. And the best way that they could fight for the existence till date has been reflecting negative vibes to black people, just to shame them and ensure that these people do not interact with each other. That has been their biggest fear. They have been afraid that white could disappear unless they could find a control. And that's what they've been doing all this time. That's a really nice theory from this doctor. I repeat once again that her works are one of the best that I have ever listened to. And I'll continue doing more videos about her because, she's very knowledgeable and she's proven that she's been reading all this time. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in once again to watch a video from my channel. Remember guys, recently I started a series of Black history in the USA, and I've been just trying to understand us as the Black people, Black people outside of Africa. I've been trying in this series to get to understand our roots, get to understand what's the problem with racism, get to understand what we stand for as a people. And this channel is working on that and trying to bring Black folks together, because all this time they've been trying to separate us. They've been trying so hard that Black people do not unite. So guys, Thank you so much for watching this video. Kindly do consider subscribing to this channel for amazing Black stories in Africa and in the diaspora. And guys, lastly, kindly subscribe and support me through super thanks down below, and I'll be so grateful. Subscribe. Support me, and I'll be so grateful, guys. See you all in my next video. Goodbye for now.